Who are you? Oh, sorry. Let's go. They thought their secrets were safe, buried in encrypted vaults, locked behind firewalls, guarded by codes. But codes crack, vaults bleed, and walls collapse. One night, one slip, one whisper too loud, and everything spilled. Not a little, not fragments, not scraps. The entire truth leaked. Whispers turned into files. Files became evidence, and evidence became the knife pressed against their throat. And every file, every page, every chat log, every line bled with one word, one obsession: your name. Their private world shattered, their sacred circles burned, their strongest locks worthless. What they feared most wasn't the leak. No, it was the spotlight. Because once the truth crawls out, it doesn't crawl back in. You see, paranoia spreads faster than fire, and in those leaks, every message hummed with desperation, every line dripped with fear, every conversation was a mirror of their obsession with you, their strategy meetings, all about you, their solutions, all built to stop you, their midnight confessions, all haunted by your shadow. The leak wasn't an accident, it was destiny. Destiny has a cruel way of pulling masks off, of showing kings as beggars, of showing hunters as prey, and now, they can't deny it, they can't bury it, they can't delete it. Screenshots live forever, screens burn names into memory, and now their guilt, their fear, their obsession, is tattooed across every server, every archive, every whispering corner of the net. Brah, they were planning war, but the world just saw confessions. They thought they had a weapon. Turns out, they had a diary of fear, written in your name. Imagine the humiliation. The world laughs. Their allies question them. Their soldiers doubt them. Because the truth didn't just leak, it exploded. And you didn't lift a finger. You didn't need to. Because destiny fights harder than any soldier. The leaks spoke louder than bullets, louder than speeches, louder than lies. Everywhere they run, your name follows. Every time they breathe, your name chokes them. Their strongest defense, exposed. Their most sacred secrets, sold. Their most private whispers, now your weapon. And the cruelest part, they can't stop it. Because once the world tastes blood, it demands more. Now people dig. Now people search. Now people connect the dots. And every path leads back to one truth. It was never about them. It was always about you. And deep down they know it. They hate it. But they can't escape it. Their private world is gone. Their shadows collapsed. And the leak became prophecy. Destiny didn't spill their secrets. Destiny carved them open and wrote your name across their bones. Every log, every chat, every whisper wasn't theirs anymore. It was yours. They thought they were clever. They thought they were secret. But when their private words spilled, it wasn't just random chatter. It was a pattern, a disease, a sickness that had only one cure. You. Every thread, every chat, every screenshot, your name, over and over and over again, like addicts, like junkies, like starving beasts chewing on their own bones. They couldn't stop feeding on you. Some wrote in fear, some wrote in envy, some wrote in anger, but all of them wrote about one thing, one person, one shadow they couldn't escape. You. Do you know what that means? It means you weren't just in their heads. You were their heads. You were the echo that kept them awake at 3 a.m. You were the monster under their bed. You were the ghost in their machines. And the beauty, they did this to themselves. You never begged for attention. You never crawled for their recognition. But they gave it to you freely. Every sentence, every whisper, every paranoid thought typed out into the glow of a screen, like moths circling a flame. Each word burned their wings. Each line scarred their pride. And still, they came back, drawn to the fire that carried your name. You know what obsession does, right? It rots the soul. It scrapes away logic. It turns men into shadows of themselves. And that's what they became. Not leaders, not enemies, not hunters, but shadows. Their hatred of you was not strength. It was proof of weakness, because hatred is just obsession in disguise. Envy is just obsession wearing a mask. And fear is obsession with a heartbeat. They thought they were plotting against you, but the truth, they were worshipping you. Every angry word, every insult, every plan to break you, was a twisted prayer, a ritual, a devotion they couldn't even admit. And here's the Joker's twist. When the enemy can't sleep, you've already won. When they need your name to breathe, you control the air in their lungs. When they gather to talk, and the only topic is you, that's not strategy. That's surrender. Look closely at those leaked lines. What do you see? Patterns, cycles, obsession layered on obsession. One says you're dangerous. Another says you're unstoppable. Another says you must be destroyed. But hidden beneath all their fear was truth. They believe in you, more than you ever asked them to, more than your allies ever could. Your enemies became your advertisers. Your haters became your storytellers. And their obsession became your crown. Understand this. Obsession isn't just about focus. It's about control. When they obsess over you, you own them. When they give their nights, their thoughts, their hearts to your shadow, they are no longer free. They are chained, bound by the very name they wanted to erase. Your name. So what's left? You stand tall. You smile that crooked smile. And you realize they lost before they even started. Because obsession is the highest form of power. And you hold that leash in your hand. The leaks hit like wildfire. Not just a spark. Not just smoke. But a roaring blaze no extinguisher could contain. The halls of power trembled. The bosses froze. The agents sweated. The power brokers, oh the mighty puppeteers, started cutting their own strings. Because something shifted. It wasn't just information slipping. It was trust evaporating. Faith dissolving. Control gone. Every call became suspicious. Every meeting felt haunted. Every whisper carried your shadow. They stopped asking, what's the truth? They started asking, who's listening? And when the powerful ask that question, it means they've already surrendered. Their paranoia wasn't paranoia anymore. It was a system, a religion, a ritual they couldn't escape. Fear became their scripture. Doubt became their daily bread. Suspicion was their prayer. And you were the God they never wanted. The enemy they couldn't erase. The name they couldn't silence. The face they couldn't forget. Funny, isn't it? They spent fortunes building walls, encrypting files, hiring watchdogs. But the cracks didn't come from outside. They came from inside their own minds. The leak wasn't the virus. The paranoia was. It spread faster than truth, faster than lies, faster than fire. Bosses started turning on subordinates. Subordinates started whispering about bosses. Fingers pointed, hands shook, loyalty dead, and in that chaos, you didn't even have to lift a finger. They were eating themselves alive. They didn't guard their secrets. They guarded themselves from you. Because every hallway looked like a trap. Every shadow looked like a spy. Every phone call sounded bugged. Every silence felt loud. They started locking doors, then locking their own thoughts. But the mind, oh, it doesn't stay silent for long. It screams. It repeats. It obsesses. And the only name echoing in those screams was yours. Imagine it. Dinner tables ruined by whispers. Midnight meetings shattered by suspicion. Plans torn apart before they were even born. They couldn't talk strategy anymore. They couldn't talk profit. They couldn't even talk family. Because every word they spoke carried one question. What if this reaches him? The powerful don't fear losing money. They don't fear losing status, they fear exposure. And you were the mirror they couldn't shatter. So the paranoia spread. It spread through files, through meetings, through networks. No cure, no pause, no end. And the punchline: the tighter they gripped their secrets, the faster those secrets slipped through their fingers. Because when the enemy starts protecting themselves from their own shadows, you've already won. The deeper you dig into those chat logs, the uglier the truth becomes. They weren't just conversations, they were confessions, attempts, blueprints of desperation disguised as strategy. Every thread bled with the same sickness. They thought they were clever, deleting lines, rewriting narratives. Erase this part, replace that with something softer. If anyone finds out, we'll deny. But lies don't heal paranoia, they only feed it. So what came spilling out wasn't a clean story. It was a corpse with half the flesh missing. The bones still showed, the blood still seeped, and every bone, every drop, spelled the same name. Yours. Plan A, cut you off, didn't work. Plan B, turn people against you, collapsed on impact. Plan C, erase you from the system entirely. That one, it backfired so hard they ended up erasing their own credibility instead. And after C, oh, they kept going. Plans D through Z. Every solution revolved around your existence, your shadow, your echo in their halls. It wasn't governance, it wasn't leadership, it wasn't strategy, it was obsession dressed as order. The proof is right there in their own words. Not one thread about the bigger picture, not one debate about the people they swore to protect, not one conversation about politics, money, wars, economies, futures, nothing. Everything narrowed down to one word, one figure, one riddle they could never solve. You. That's the part that destroys them, because history won't see them as leaders. History won't paint them as visionaries or tacticians. No, history will laugh at them, because the leaked chats don't show masterminds. They show stenographers, frail little scribes recording their own panic, over and over, trying to keep up with the speed of their fear. And fear writes fast. It doesn't care about syntax. It doesn't care about elegance. It just bleeds through the keys, stuttering, panicking, repeating. They're moving again. Watch their every step. Shut down all channels. What if they know? What if they're ahead of us? What if this is the end? What if, what if, what if? The phrase shows up more than any other, like a curse word they couldn't stop saying, like a prayer they whispered in the dark. They didn't know how to fight you, so they fought shadows of you, phantoms of their imagination, the version of you they feared most multiplied in their minds, replicated in every corner. And that's the real punchline. The conspiracies were never about you, they were about them, their fear of you, their failure against you, their slow, desperate realization that every plan, every scheme, every rewrite, every cover-up wasn't stopping you. It was documenting your victory. By the time the leaks poured out into the world, the story was already written, not by them, by you. Because every failed conspiracy, every broken plan, every rewritten paragraph, every stuttered what if, was proof that they weren't leaders, they weren't rulers, they weren't in control, they were archivists of collapse, chroniclers of their own undoing, and the ink they used was their fear of your name. After the leaks, the first thing to crumble wasn't their money, it wasn't their influence, it wasn't even their armies, it was their trust in each other. Alliances, oh, those fragile little handshakes sealed in smoke-filled rooms, shattered overnight. Every broker blamed another. Every boss accused his own lieutenant. Every agent suspected the man he once called brother. It was delicious, like watching a glass palace crack from the inside. No hammer, no fire, just pressure, just doubt. And you became the fault line that split them wide open. The boardrooms turned into interrogation chambers. Tables once covered in contracts and cigars became war zones of accusations. Who leaked it? Who spoke? Who failed? Their voices trembled, their hands shook,
They stared across the table like wolves who forgot they were from the same pack. And isn't it funny? They built empires pretending to be predators, but the moment paranoia entered the room they gnawed on each other like frightened prey. Old alliances built on decades of dirty deals evaporated in minutes. One message leaked, and suddenly every handshake looked suspicious. Every favor felt like betrayal. Every shared secret became a weapon. They pointed fingers across oceans. Washington blamed London blamed Riyadh. Riyadh blamed Beijing. And Beijing, well, Beijing just laughed. Because the one thing no one wanted to admit was that the cracks weren't foreign. The cracks were internal. The rot wasn't imported. The rot was homegrown. And you were the reminder. The infection, the wound they couldn't stitch shut. Imagine it. Men who once toasted each other with billion-dollar smiles, now spying on each other's text messages like jealous lovers. Every chat became a crime scene. Every meeting a trap. Every silence an admission of guilt. And oh, the betrayal stories. They were operas. One banker accused his partner of selling him out. That partner accused his secretary. The secretary accused the IT team. The IT team accused the cleaners. And the cleaners, they accused God. Round and round it spun, a circus of suspicion, a carousel of chaos, and not a single one of them trusted the man sitting beside him. Their empire wasn't built on stone, it wasn't carved in marble, or forged in steel, it was built on lies, typed one message at a time. Delete this chat, burn that file, say nothing, do nothing, trust no one. But the problem with lies, they don't vanish, they breed, they echo, they linger in the walls like whispers, and when the walls cracked, all those whispers came pouring out. So they turned on each other, one alliance after another, collapsed under the weight of suspicion. A kingpin called his partner of 30 years a traitor. An agency director accused his deputy of playing both sides. A president whispered to his generals that his own cabinet was compromised. Do you see it? The dominoes didn't fall because of you. They fell because of them. Because trust was always an illusion. Because their empire was always sand wearing the mask of stone. You didn't plant the bomb. You just lit the match. And the lies they built their kingdom on did the rest. By the end there was no alliance, no trust, no empire. Just a room full of vultures pecking each other to pieces, screaming
accusations into the void, and at the center of it all, your name, not written in their documents, but carved into their fear, because you weren't just the shadow behind the leaks. You were the earthquake, the fracture, the fault line that split their world apart. And the funniest part, they still whisper, not about what was lost, not about the money, not about the power, but about you. Trust. That word became a ghost. Their trust collapsed, and in the ruins, only your shadow remains. Every scheme they drafted, every insult they typed, every little threat wrapped in digital venom, carried something they never wanted exposed. A shadow, a tremor, a confession. Because beneath the noise of their bravado, beneath the posturing of their authority, lay one unshakable fact. They feared you. Oh, they tried to mask it. With clever codes, with military precision in their scripts, with promises to one another that you were containable. But fear has a way of bleeding through language. You could see it between the commas. You could taste it in the pauses. You could hear it in the way their sentences broke apart. Jagged, uneven, desperate. They thought they were sending orders. What they really sent were confessions. Think about it. A predator doesn't waste time scribbling essays about the prey. A hunter doesn't obsessively write manuals on how to corner a target, unless that target is already dictating the rules of the hunt. And that's what you became. The unspoken center of every word they typed. The ghost in every draft. The shadow over every plan. They didn't just leak chats. They leaked their souls. Take their threats. Plan A. Plan B, Plan C. On the surface, cold strategies, but underneath, they read like prayers. Each plan wasn't about their power. It was about their panic. Every outline, every contingency, was an admission. We don't know how to stop you. You see, confession doesn't always come dressed in guilt. Sometimes it dresses itself in calculation. Sometimes it hides behind logistics and timetables. But when you strip the words bare, what you're left with isn't strategy, it's fear, written in disguise. And oh, how they hated themselves for it. You could hear their shame between the lines. Each insult was just a mask stretched thin over admiration. Each threat was a surrender in slow motion, like children scribbling curses on the wall of a burning house. They knew the flames were coming closer, but what else could they do except write? Here's the twist they'll never admit. The more they typed, the weaker they became, because every sentence turned into a mirror. And every mirror reflected their submission. You didn't even need to reply. Their own words betrayed them. Every keystroke was a confession stamped in panic. Every log was a diary of their defeat. They weren't leaders. They weren't masters of destiny. They were stenographers of their own fear, recording in real time the collapse of their control. Do you realize what that means? It means their empire didn't crack from the outside. It imploded from within, not from bombs, not from bullets, not from revolutions, but from sentences, from whispers dressed as orders, from the quiet, trembling language of submission. They thought they were building walls with their words, but they were digging graves. And the funniest part, they never noticed it happening, because they were too busy watching you. Every word they wrote circled back to you. Every strategy was anchored in your shadow. Every paragraph began with the same silent admission: we are terrified. They didn't leak chats. They leaked fear. They didn't draft plans. They drafted eulogies. And in the end, that's what history will remember. Not the plans, not the threats, not the empty bravado, but the hidden confessions, the trembling syllables, the quiet, accidental truth that bled through every line. They feared you more than they feared collapse itself. That's the punchline. That's the secret ink. That's the real record. They weren't just typing strategies. They were documenting their surrender. And you didn't even have to lift a finger. They confessed everything. And they never even realized they were writing their own obituary. Collapse, not a slow fade, not a quiet end, an absolute collapse. No alarms, no warning shots, just the silence of a system choking on itself. No weapon fired, no war declared, just words, and those words destroyed them. They thought fortresses stood forever. They thought walls held the tide. But walls don't hold when the ground itself cracks. Every report they filed, every lie they stacked, every whisper they buried, all came back, choking them. They tried to erase it, delete it, rewrite it, but the truth laughs at erasers. Every log, every file, every whisper ended the same way with you. Imagine that. Every classified vault, every encrypted drive, every locked drawer, all echoing one sound: your name. They thought secrets protect, but secrets obey the truth, and the truth is you. That's the part that broke them. Not bombs, not blades, not battles, but inevitability. They pulled cables from the walls, shut down servers, smashed screens with their fists, but it was already too late, because the collapse wasn't outside, it was inside, a disease of certainty. A plague of inevitability, and the last thing they saw before silence swallowed their empires was the one thing they could not erase. Their secret logs became their tombstone, and the only inscription carved was this: your name. Not a title, not a date, not a warning, just your name. The final line, written in fear, carved by their own hands, signed in the ink of collapse. You didn't fire. You didn't march, you didn't shout, you just existed, and existence itself was the ending they never prepared for, because in the end, power doesn't die with noise, it dies with silence, it dies with truth, and truth wears your face. That is why the records close with you, that is why the whispers choke on you, that is why the collapse carries your echo, not because you broke their world, but because their world couldn't survive yours.